Week 2 lecture video for ALEC 241, Spring 2018. I'm excited that this class is picking up some steam here. We'll pick it up very quickly in this second week. Make sure you are in class because we will have 2 guest speakers, and I expect you to come to class ready to be engaged, listen, pay attention, ask questions, do your homework. So come and be excited to interact with our guest speakers. I'll have more on that in a second. For this week, you should be reading chapters 1, 2, and 3 out of How to Shoot Video That Doesn't Suck, our textbook. Quite the colorful title, but it's a great book. Start digging in and reading it. You'll be glad you did. And then also do the Tuesday of this cycle of class, January 16th, is your introductory cell phone video. We will talk about that in class on week 1 in our face-to-face class. So if you missed that, shoot me an email if you have any questions about the assignment. I want to see that you already have a little bit of video knowledge and skills. I want to see where you're at with your video skills, just using your own personal cell phone, iPad, laptop, computer, what have you, to record some sort of video. Part of the test is, can you record it? Can you export it? Can you get it into your box folder? So you need to make yourself work through that workflow so that it just comes second nature and you're able to do it quickly throughout this semester. All right, also due by January 23rd at midnight, your first Facebook Live proposal. We'll talk about that in class as well, and I'll show you how to do that this week. And then online activity number 1. So keep up with those deadlines. All right, our guest speakers in class will be Boone McAfee. He's the Director of Research for the Nebraska Corn Board, and Curtis Harms. He's the Director of Communication for the Nebraska Corn Board. And Curtis is actually a graduate of our program, so he's also a great sort of career role model for you to look at. But this semester, the Nebraska Corn Board will be the client for the majority of our videos. So search out who these people are, read about the Corn Board, look through those research profiles from the Corn Board that I posted in Canvas. Start getting familiar with all of it so that you'll have a lot of questions for them in class. Our videos will be related to Corn Board funded research at UNL and the scientists doing that research. So get familiar with all of it. Really pay attention and take notes. Okay, so just to go back to week 1, where hopefully you read through the introduction of our book and the quick start guide to shooting video, some of the key points I would like you to pick up. People will turn off your video, just like the author says. If you do not have passionate, engaging, informational, nicely produced video with an interesting story, they're going to turn it off, and that's death in video. That's deadly. So he makes the point of making sure your video is alive with really powerful messaging and great visuals so that people will keep it turned on. Video should be about things that provide inspiration, motivate people, get them excited about something, nostalgia, a look back at something or why something was so important to someone or a culture, humor, something that's interesting and funny, and passion should be about what people really love about and care to talk about and share these amazing and thought-provoking sound bites. Video, as a video producer this semester, it should come as a second language to you. So just like you learned Spanish or French or Chinese or any language, video is a language in and of itself. So you will learn how to start thinking in terms of that language this semester. As a videographer and video producer, you should always be considering the viewer's perspective. What will the viewer think of what you're showing them, the story you're telling them? How will they consume the information? What are their own biases and beliefs and cultures that they come from? Do they have an agriculture and environment background? Do they not? You should be considering all of those things about your viewer. Do not get bogged down in the technology of all of this. Do not, do not, do not. That is always also one of my cardinal rules. I've been shooting video since 1999. I've been in tons of meetings at television stations, in my campus jobs all over, where you usually get a group of video people together and they start geeking out about what type of camera they have and how many pixels it shoots and who has the newest microphone and the newest brand. Now it's 360 video and drones, and we're all so geeked out and excited and think this technology is cool. And the technology is cool, and we should be excited about it. But if you don't have a good story in the first place, if you don't have good information, if you don't have good people and characters and locations and ideas in your video, all of those things, inspiration, passion, humor, if you don't have any of that stuff in your video, the technology does not matter. Okay, so you need to keep in mind that video, just like photography, just like podcasting, just like writing, it's an art and a craft. And what that means is there's an art to storytelling and interviewing and shooting and lighting video and framing it and all those sorts of things. But there's also a craft, and that is the knowing about the cameras, knowing about the button pushing that goes on, knowing about the editing software. So it's a mixture of all of it. Look through those 12 video steps that they give you in the quick start guide, things like zoom with your feet, show the whites of their eyes, all of that stuff. Read through those quick tips to start thinking like a videographer, and we'll go deeper into those throughout the book. All right, chapter 1 is another chapter you should be looking at. I always, when I look at this chapter, I think of what my old professor, Ken Keller, at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, when I was an undergraduate like you in a radio and television major, he would always say, what am I seeing and why am I seeing it? We would put on a television news broadcast on our local public television station as students every day at 5:30. And he would be sitting in that control room and say, why am I seeing this while you're talking about X, right? So when the anchor or reporter is talking, if the video doesn't match, that's not good storytelling. So this chapter tries to get you to think about the transactional exchange of video, that it's a conversation between the producer and the viewer. It's a transaction that's happening. It's a two-way street, goes both ways. Your video has to be compelling. Your video has to match the messaging. It has to be intriguing or people won't care. Always think about the eye of the viewer. How are they going to behold and perceive your video? What will matter to them the most? What are the main points? Chapter 2 talks about intent versus result. So what is the intent of your video? What do you want it to convey to people? What do you want them to get out of it? What are the key features, key messages? What do you hope to influence or impact through that video? Result is what you hope people will do, what their behavior might be after they watch your video. So you're not making a video necessarily to get them to exhibit a certain behavior. You're making the video for a certain intent, to raise awareness, to adjust their thinking, to adjust their attitudes, you can still call someone to action, I would argue. You can say, we would now like you to go to our website or call this number or make a donation to something in your own community. So there is sort of a result piece to it as well, is what I would argue. It's a little bit of both. So a video should also always be something that you are passionate about. Now, you might be a science communication major or minor, or in ag business or ag econ or animal science, and you're in this class, and streaming science may not be your first passion, and corn research may not be your first passion, but it is what we're going to work on this semester, so you need to find something about it that you are passionate about. Maybe it's about agriculture in a broad sense and helping people see what goes on in agriculture and the environment. Maybe it's about the environment and you want to show how agriculturalists are trying to protect it and support it and help it. But you need to find out what your passion is in all of this semester in the context of what we're working in. Now, outside of this class, as a video producer, yes, you will get to work on whatever you are passionate about. Maybe it's the history of your family's farm or ranch and you want to do a video about it. Or it's a video about current range management practices, ranch management practices that you're following or something like that. But your video should always be something that you are passionate about And also the people that you put in the video, the scientists this semester, you need to show their passion. You need to get them to talk about why they care about what they're researching and doing. Otherwise, the viewers won't care about your video. They'll turn it off, right? Chapter 3 gets into the emotion, right, of video. In video, when you interview someone, there will be 2 types of sound bites that you're going to get from them, and we'll talk more about that, the emotional sound bites and the factual sound bites. Typically, the factual sound bites, you need them because you need to provide details about their research or their program. It's the emotion sound bites that are going to resonate and stick with people. Why that person loves what they do, what problem they're trying to help and solve, and why, how they hope this impacts the future. That stuff is what will resonate with people more than the fact stuff. So it talks about take the viewer on a ride, an emotional roller coaster, if you will. Take them through why they should care about this topic, how it impacts them, what it meant to the scientist, all of those things. Look for the emotional sound bites. I would also say sneak in some science along the way. So for streaming science, we want to get the emotion of the researcher, the emotion about the research project, but we also want people to at least walk away with an awareness of maybe now they understand why soil health is important to Nebraska. So we need to find that balance between what we're going to do with our stories. The KISS principle, right, is not always the most flattering principle. Keep it simple, stupid. In broadcasting, they say that all the time, KISS. So I would say that's the idea that your video messages need to be very simple. You need to work with your scientists to explain very complicated concepts in a very simplified way. They're going to use a lot of jargon, a lot of terms that are complicated, and you need to sort of talk them into ways they can say it more simply for people to understand. All right, this is not in your chapters, not in this book, but my other book I used to use in this class was called Aim for the Heart, Write, Shoot, and Produce for TV and News by Al Tompkins of the Poynter Institute. This is my almost all-time favorite book, but it's getting a little bit dated. So these are some of the things I still think you should be learning along the way from that book as well, and I'll mention them throughout these videos. When you put together a video, there will either be narration, a narrator voicing it, or there will be interviews with people. You do not write it and put that together the same way you do a print style piece, a press release or a newspaper article or a blog. They're different writing formats. So I want you to learn about the inverted pyramid for writing for print, where it's that upside down triangle. Most important details at the top to the less important, because in newspapers they chop columns off when they have to build in space for advertisements. So the most important stuff stays and the rest gets chopped off. In video, you don't want to chop your video off. You don't want people to watch it for 1 minute and then turn it off. So we follow the hourglass format, which is there's important information at the top, important information at the bottom. There might be a twist or turn in the plot or some memorable gold coin moment, as Tompkins calls it, that you build in the middle, but you have to find a way to keep their attention from beginning to end. So there's information throughout that is interesting in the hourglass format. So kind of keep those 2 types of storytelling styles in mind, but definitely think about the hourglass style for your video project. Okay, again, here were the deadlines. The 16th, that cell phone video. The 23rd, the Facebook Live proposal and online activity 1. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. Have a great week.